Warning. The following is extremely addictive content. The original Savage Podcast may cause increased levels of success, happiness, and completely transform your life. You've been warned.
Welcome, everybody. We're back with another episode of the original Savage Podcast this week. I can't wait. You guys are going to be super excited. I know you can see him sitting right there. He's a big man. He takes up a lot of the camera. But Scott, without further ado, just go ahead and introduce who you are, because I know this is going to be jam-packed with information. I don't want to take up too much time blowing up your head and acting like, too crazy. So why don't you go ahead and introduce who you are?
Yeah, what's up, Josh, man? It's nice to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on. Like you said, Scott Kooistra, I played offensive tackle at NC State University, 99 to 2002, 3, whatever that year is, last year was. Captain for them my senior year. Then I went on to play 8 years in the NFL. Last year was not a great year. I was injured that whole year, but put about 8 years in. I don't really count that last one. Sitting on a couch, pretty messed up, recovering. And then now I'm doing, well, I did some coaching after that, but coaching doesn't always, it's more like donating your time, and which you love. You love the kids, right? And love being around them. You love recruiting them. You love helping change their lives and turn them into successful young men. At the same time, you have a family you got to provide for. So now I do financial advising, sales, insurance sales, retirement protection, and things like that. So kind of went from on the field, getting dirty and sweat and blood sweat and that whole thing to, putting on a collared shirt every day. So a big kind of juxtaposition there, but it's definitely been good.
Perfect, man. Well, that's exactly the type of conversation that I wanted to have on here, because I talk about that in several other episodes, and that transition from the athletic world to the business world and the things that go together to make somebody successful in both. Because I think that a lot of people that succeed in athletics also succeed in business, and it's because of they just understand how to succeed. Not because they're different athletically. Yes, that helps that helps in the NFL to be athletic. Doesn't necessarily help in the business world to be athletic. It's the understanding of how to succeed. And with that said, I'll just jump into what I ask everybody, and it's, in your opinion, in your experience with business, in your experience with athletics, recruiting as well. What is that one thing? What is that catalyst, in your opinion, that helps people take their performance to that next level, or helps them really make that lasting change or that transition? In your opinion, what's that one thing?
Whenever I get this question to me, or listening to a speaker, discipline has got to be the first. It's kind of like, it seems like it's just discipline. It's very broad, but it's very simple. It's just doing something the right thing. Football or sports athletics teaches us just you're here. If you're on time, you're late. Go to class, go to practice, get your work done in order to be successful. And I think we can kind of get it all, well, it's this or it's that. No, it's just being disciplined. It's just being disciplined, having a schedule, and following through with it. Now, there's a lot of other things that different adjectives and different things we can use to describe this. But if you had to pinpoint one thing, for me, it's just having discipline. And that might be simple, that may be boring, but somebody was telling us, like, it's boring, but in the end, it's the one thing that gets you from A to B to C to D. Doing those little things in order makes you successful. It actually, discipline in your life makes your life a lot easier. You know, it's the people that aren't disciplined, that their schedules are all out of whack. You know, they don't get up in the morning and go work out, or they don't read something, they don't listen to a podcast, and then their life is like, you know, they're like, I don't understand why I'm not here, why I'm not there. Well, the discipline in it simplifies everything, you know, and creating that schedule. And I think, you know, one thing is funny. Sometimes you fight against it early on in your career, athletically, right? It's like, you got a 5:15 workout, you know, do you go to bed the night before, or do you stay out with your buddies? You know, you might mess up. Maybe you do go out, you know, you're at college, you're a young kid. You're going to have to pay for that, right? You're getting charged somewhere or another, right? That's going to catch up to you. And so you learn from that mistake, then you get your butt in bed, wake up, do the workout, and then you're like, wow, that really paid off. That discipline paid off. I had a better workout. The coaches noticed me. I was giving extra effort because I had the discipline to get my butt in bed, get up, you know, and get to that workout and show out at that workout. But what it does is it carries through to business. You know, you have that kind of internal clock that, like, okay, if I don't set my alarm, if I don't prepare, you feel like, oh man, like something ain't right here. You know, like something in my life is not right. And it's like, oh yeah, I need to do this. I need to prepare. I need to be ready for my next day. And athletics does that for you. And you just carry that on into your business, in your business world. And that's the one thing I think that's helped me.
Dude, I love that discipline, because what it is, it's the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right? It's that unheralded factor that sets people apart. It's like you said, in business, in athletics, it doesn't matter what it is. It's that unseen effort that gets you noticed, though, right? Like you said, right. Hey, you had a better practice, you have a better workout, your coaches notice you, or, you know, the discipline to time block in business and do things the right way, so that, you know, all these people see, social media wise, they see these successful people going on these trips and going and doing this and doing that, but what they don't ever see, right, is the discipline, the 5 a.m.s, the 4 a.m.s, whatever it might be. And it can be on either side of the day too. Like for me, I would rather, a lot of the times I stay up until 4 a.m. working rather than waking up at 4 a.m. and starting work. For me, I'm just, the longer I'm awake, the more my brain functions. My brain can't function first thing in the morning. So for me, I know that I would rather stay up until 4 a.m. than wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Right?
I don't work like that. You know?
Hey, and that's it. It's individuality,
I guess. But how do you feel the next day, though? Like, are you not starting till noon or 2? Like, what does that do for you? You know, 4 a.m. on a Sunday or Monday night to get started for the week. Does that mess you up?
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. It just depends on what I've got going on. But typically, my day starts at 7, around 7, taking my son to school.
Kids,
so like, there's no, but it just depends. Like, I don't typically stay up until 4 a.m. on a day where I have to take him to school. So like, that would be a Saturday or a Sunday, and knocking out podcast episodes or knocking out content prep for the week or whatever it might be. But I'm still up by, 9 or so on a Saturday or on a Sunday. So it's not like, it's the same thing. It's just sacrificing that 8 hours of sleep that, again, some people say you have to have 8 hours of sleep. Some people say we're not built for 8 hours of sleep. It depends on what camp you're in. A lot of people say that, like, as long as you're 4 hours, you're good. So, I mean, it just depends on what camp you're in. Yeah. But, I've heard the same thing about, like, Jeff Bezos doesn't start his day until 10 o'clock. Right? He wakes up and he pitter-patters around for a few hours and doesn't take a meeting until 10 o'clock because he needs time to get his brain going. And I'm the same way. Like, the first hour, I've got to do nothing. I've got to just death scroll or watch a YouTube video. Like, I have to give my brain time to function.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, my thing with that is like, one thing I was trying to think of when I was kind of pausing there is we want the freedom, right? We want all this freedom, right? We want to be able to do this and that, but the discipline gives you the freedom, and it's kind of like that backwards thing. If we are disciplined, we do have more time. We create more time for ourselves, instead of procrastinating on things and we think we have time, then all of a sudden, our life's a mess, right? So the discipline gives us that freedom. And what you were saying about that is, when you get up in the morning, right? We've all read that book, right? Make your bed, or watch that clip, right? First thing, make your freaking bed in the morning, like achieve something. Get up, whether it's at 6 a.m., 7, 8, get up, make your freaking bed, do that, do something good and positive, right? That's just one thing that you've done that, maybe somebody else isn't doing, but it gets some momentum rolling into the next thing, which for me is like, okay, getting dressed, I'm going to the gym. I'm putting on gym clothes. I'm not putting on, keeping in my gym shorts and just kind of lounging around. It's like, put on gym clothes. Okay, now I got to go to the gym. I'm dressed to go to the gym. Now I'm going to the gym, right? Getting the kids off to school, hitting the gym, doing something physical, and everybody's different, but that's my thing. I got to have that in my life. Like I got to have a workout first thing, and obviously getting kids up and doing that whole thing, but then it's straight into gym, and then I can feel like, okay, I got that out of the way, into work, and you can create that. You don't have to be an old NFL player or college athlete. You can create that. There ain't nothing wrong with, you can do that. But I have to have that in my life,
Well, like you said, it creates the freedom, right?
Yeah.
It's so whether it's time, whether it's money, obviously those two things go hand in hand. Like when we actually break it down in a disciplined way, when we actually schedule, when we budget, when we do those types of things, we find extra stuff. Like when you actually go through your day, if you schedule your day out, hour by hour or 2 hours by 2 hours, whatever it might be, if you do that, you'll find extra time. Because all of us waste time. We all waste time at some point during the day. Yeah. But if you block that time out and do it that way, then it's a completely different situation because you're not wasting the time. You already had it scheduled, right? Because I've had days, and it's, again, budgeting is the same way. A lot of us will be like, oh, I don't have any extra money. And then we write a budget out, and it's like, oh, wait, here's the $200 I spent at the coffee shop down the street.
Right.
And I didn't say Starbucks specifically because not everybody goes to Starbucks. But, it's a funny story. My brother one time, his law office has a coffee shop right behind the law office. And a lot of time he said he's always busy. So he'll send like one of the paralegals or somebody. And so then he feels like he has to pay for their coffee. And then at the end of the month, he spent $400 or $500 at the coffee shop. And he's like, dude, holy crap, I got to start making coffee at home. Like I was spending $400 or $500 a month on coffee. And it's like, again, when you go back and look at it, when you discipline, the discipline of making coffee at home buys him more time, buys him more money at the end of the month. Same thing, when you block out your time, buys you freedom.
Or like, and to do coffee at home, right? What does that entail though? You got to get your butt to the store, or have the wife or whoever get to the store. So that takes time, but that takes discipline. When do you get in this stuff done? Or do you have somebody do it for you? And if your wife or you get your stuff delivered to you, okay. But in the end though, you're still going to save money. You ain't buying the whole office coffee every week and every month. And you got to be disciplined to do it that way. And then see what the results are. I'm sure, he does that and gets the little Keurig going or whatever. He ain't spending, 20, 30, $40 a day or a week on extra coffee. So it's amazing what people will do for a Dunkin' or a Starbucks though. And just
absolutely
and justify it too, which I guess it's good. I make mine here at the house. I don't got time or to worry about going through a drive-through. That's the other thing. I'm not going to sit in a drive-through for a coffee. Like I'm just not. It's not in me. And I'm
the energy drink guy. Like I like coffee, but I'm an energy drink guy, so it's already made. I ain't
Right.
got time, man.
There you go. But I never really drank coffee when I was playing, at the facilities, in the NFL. They got, decent cafeterias and decent coffee rooms and stuff like that. And, guys, they get their cup of joe, right? They get their coffee. They need to have it in the morning. I never was. And then I stopped playing, or, the game was taken, and I got into doing insurance and all this stuff I'm doing. I drink a coffee every freaking day. I never did it while I was playing. I thought it would dehydrate me, this, that, and the other, and wasn't good for my body. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I need to have one every day to get my morning going. I don't know if that's age or the work, the job, or whatever, but yeah, funny.
So for me though, it's different, and again, it's all about understanding yourself. So most people use caffeine to wake up. I use caffeine to focus. If I've got something I have to do, have to get done, I have to have some caffeine to calm my brain down and get it focused on the specific task. Like, I'm way more creative. I'm way more focused. I'm way more in the zone with caffeine. And I used to always say too, that like, for me, I was either locked in or not there at all. Like, and if I was locked in, I could get 8 hours worth of work done in 2 hours. And so to some extent, I still am like that. But really, I've figured out that it's just about calming the brain down and figuring it out and like locking in. And if I have an energy drink, I can do that. Like, what keeps me awake at night is not energy. It's not caffeine that keeps me awake at night. It's my brain going crazy. It's my brain feeling like it didn't get anything done, or it's my brain not wanting to stop thinking about what I was thinking about.
Right. Yeah, my caffeine is getting that workout in,
Yeah.
And like I'll make a coffee for the road, and sometimes it'll be, a Yeti that big, and I'll drink. And I get home and it's like I didn't even really have much, but it was maybe it's a habit, it's a routine where we're creatures. That's like, hey, I made coffee one day, I felt good, I had a good day on the work, and maybe close some deals that day, and it's like, maybe gotta have my coffee, you know what I mean? But we're so locked into that the habit of it and being habitual, and it's like, I wonder if that's something to it. But some days I'll just make it and I won't even drink half of it. So I don't know. It's crazy, but I don't know.
You say routine and stuff like that. Like that for me, I was just watching back a podcast that's about to come out right before we jumped on to record this one. And they were talking about, the guest was talking about film study, and that they study themselves to get ready for what they do. But I want to talk about the transition of routine and film study when it comes from a point of how do you use that same skill set of studying and getting better through studying in the business world, or in that transition to the business world. Like, obviously you didn't, like you said, you didn't have like a planned out exit. It was, hey, I was hurt, it wasn't a planned out exit. And how do you use the same skills of routine, workout, discipline, and film study? How do you use those same skills now in the business world?
Well, people, in the NFL, they see the product on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
In the college, they see the end result on a Saturday, the next level on that Sunday. They don't see, Monday morning, Tuesday, off days of Tuesday in the NFL, but guys coming in, watching film, getting ready for the next opponent. They don't see, and I thought I was kind of dumb to the fact when I first got drafted. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't got school. I got practice for a couple hours a day. What are we doing the other 12 hours out of the day? Oh yeah, watching film. You know what I mean? Watching film, meeting with coaches, working out. They'll fill your day up. You might practice for 2.5, 3 hours, but you've been at the facility for 12. And that's because you're working out, you're getting your body right, you're watching film. And we probably watched, 20 25, 30, I don't know. I don't know how many hours a week it would be, but lots of film on week during a game week. And people don't see that. They see that Sunday, but they don't see the prep that goes into it. So you transition into the business world, and you see these folks that are really successful. They know how to close. They know how to strike up a conversation with somebody. They know how to get to what's that hot button that where I'm trying to get this deal done. They've read a lot of books. They've listened to different podcasts. They've studied the product, and they know the ins and outs of it. And for me, it's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, studying your opponent, knowing how this deal might go. And in the game, on the field, when you're young, everything's moving at 100, 150 miles per hour, right? You're just like, you got anxiety, your heart's racing, the guys are bigger, faster, stronger, and you're just like, what the heck? You know what I mean? As you get into it, the game starts to slow down. You talk like probably, I'm sure, Ed, Mike, Jordan and Kobe, these people that are just elite players in their profession, everything's in slow motion for them. And so when you get good at something and you practice, you can see the steps ahead, but in business, it's the same thing. A client is talking to you and like, okay, here's where we're going. And you have a feeling of what they're going to say, and you're already playing chess and you already know what you're going to do. And it's the same thing, but you have to have the reps at it. So the reps come from obviously just doing meetings, but also making sure you're prepared for it, right? Reading on your products, your sales books, talking with other people and agents in your business or people outside of your business, really, and being prepared for it. So it definitely translates, but you got to put that time in. You got to put that time in.
I'm glad you said, like, knowing what they're going to say next. I'm glad that you said that, because I've found through training advisors and training sales reps and whatever, industry they may be in. And I've found so many times they'll come back after our first meeting or second meeting or whatever meeting it is. They'll come back in the next meeting. They'll say, okay, well, I did this and they said this. Now what do I do? And it's like, you've already lost. If we're at this point now, you've already lost. You have to, and I'm going to give away some secrets right here that are in a course that I've designed. But for me, I've altered how I train people to let them understand, hey, you have to go into a meeting looking for one trigger word. I'm not looking for, I'm not looking to fill up the time. I don't care if I set an hour-long meeting or a 30-minute meeting. I don't care if we're 5 minutes in. If I get my trigger word, I'm done with the meeting. It's out the window because I got my trigger word. It's like, hey, if we're in the first meeting and I'm looking to set the second meeting, 5 minutes in, they trigger, I'm setting the next meeting right then, right there. Get out of there.
Right.
If it's a close, I'm looking for that trigger word. I don't care how long we are. Trigger, close, get it done. Sign the paperwork. Get out of there.
Yeah.
Too many people don't know. They don't go into it knowing what that word is. They don't understand. And in a concept that I've talked about and written about and things like that, there's this thought process of setting a trap. So I think of it as setting a trap. And it's like, hey, I'm going into this meeting with a trap. And as soon as they trigger that trap, I got them, I'm done. And it's not to say, oh, hey, I'm pulling one over on somebody. And it's not to say like a trap in that aspect. It's just mentally, that's what helps me understand that, like, hey, this is set. The trap is set. It's been sprung. Get out of there. Right? It's done. Get out of there. This is that immediate urgency to understand, hey, it's time to go.
Well, and I think I know what you're getting at. It's, anything the client or whoever, whatever it is, right? Anything they say can and will be used against them,
Right.
So whatever conversation we're having about their financial situation, whether they've been through some tough times in the past, whether they're trying to figure out what they're going to do in the future, this is all stuff that we're in our mind, we're using, or we're going to save it up. And when it comes to the end, we're going to get this deal done. You have to use all that stuff. And it's not in a malicious way. It's not, like you said earlier, right? It's not to twist anything, but you're asking good questions of your clients to figure out, okay, what's the need here? How can I be of service to you? And like you said, if it comes early, if you feel like it's coming early, then boom, then we can close it. But I mean, I have a tough time with doing that because I like to get to know people and really, make sure it's solidified, whatever deal we're working on. But yeah, no doubt, anything they say can and will be used against them, but in a good way, because some people just don't get it. You might be meeting with a client, and you're like talking to them about an insurance product that they need to have, that what they need, you see it, but you haven't necessarily given that value. They haven't seen the value yet. And it's like, or retirement. And some people are just oblivious to it. And it's like, no, you have to invoke the emotion and invoke the thought in them to say, oh yeah, God, that would suck. And then they start selling themselves on it. They're like, yep, got to have that, need that, and then your job is done. But, going back into transitioning and all that, I mean, it's like reading a defense, right? You walk up to the line, you go through your routine, you see how they're lined up, and you okay, that safety's there, this guy's here, yep, boom, here comes the blitz, right? You've seen it, you've studied it. Same thing in the deal, talking to a client, that, got it, know my game plan, this is the way we're going to go, so.
Well, it's just like you hear them talk about setting up plays, right? If you watch the NFL on Sundays, they're going to say, oh, they set this move up by doing this, this, and this. And then they set it up, and now they've hit this for a touchdown because they set it up with this, this, and this, right? They ran this play, this look, and now they've altered that look, and now they're going to go there, right? It's a setup. You set it up. And it's just like you said, even if your style is to get to know people better and better and better and better and really understand like their needs and make sure that they understand their needs, it's understanding the buying purchase or the buying process is people buy based on emotion, and then they justify it with reasoning, logic, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it's your job to fire up that emotion, whether it's by getting to know them and bringing down their walls, whether it's depending on how you do it. But like, that's the thing too, like understanding everything that goes into it. You have to understand people are trained to say no. People are trained to stay away from salespeople because especially now, like all the information's out there on the internet for most things, right? You can go and become an expert. Do people want to go and become an expert? No, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're, for some people, when they're in this buying phase, they go and start doing research, But again, there's no Google for you personally. You can't Google what is the best strategy for Scott Kooistra to do this. Like, it's not going to tell you anything that's specific to you. So that's where that salesperson comes in to connect those dots. Like, okay, hey, you've been doing your research. Great. ... Let's color in the lines.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of misinformation. I mean, there's a lot of information out there. There's stuff on the companies peddling stuff over the TV, but it's really not what it's supposed to be. You get different deals over the phone, and it's like, and people are they should be because there's a lot of nonsense out there too. They should be careful, which makes your job be a little bit more difficult because you're coming from a genuine, honest place of integrity, and you got to break down all those walls, like you said, to really, okay, listen, this is this, but this is who we are, this is who I am, and we're going to do this the right way for you, and making people have that trust that you're going to deliver the way what under promise, over deliver, right? We're gonna get it done, and then hopefully come up with and be even more successful for them, or over deliver for them. So yeah, that's interesting. I do like that.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, it's kind of funny because it's like it almost works backwards, because it's like, how are the scam artists so good at getting people to pull the trigger, but then good salespeople can't get people to pull the trigger, right? Sometimes, right? And it's crazy how that works. And like you said, there's misinformation out there, but sometimes people are more attracted to the misinformation than the real information.
Right. I got stories for days on that, and you're talking to your client, and he calls his sister and is like, hey, I got this guy here talking to me about this, and this. And the sister's like, oh, no, man, you don't need all that. You don't need all that. I got you. And I'm like, what does your sister do? Oh, she's a nurse down the street. Okay. So I'm a professional that's licensed. You don't want to listen to me. If you were sick, you would not come to me, right? You would go to the nurse, your sister who's the nurse, right? I hope you would. But here we are talking about this, and you're going to go to the nurse and, love what they do, obviously, but they're not in this. But, again, maybe it's my fault. Obviously, maybe it's my fault. Didn't get the trust, look back at myself. How can I be better? How can I prepare that? How can I make sure I'm giving them all, literally building this issue that they have to where they don't feel like they got to go ask somebody else. So that's obviously something I did wrong in that instance, right? Because, anytime you lose a deal or you don't close something, it's something you did, right? You didn't prepare them. You didn't set it up right. You thought you had it in there, so you just kind of coasted through thinking this one's in the bag. How many times have we thought we got a client and things are just going so smooth. This is an easy close. And then they go, yeah, I got to think about it. It's like, what did I do? Right? Like game film, going back and watching the game film. What did I do in that meeting that I didn't get it done? And, I missed something. I obviously missed something,
Well, it's that perception, right? You perceived it as going really well. They perceived it as not a sell, right? It's that there's a gap or a disconnect, like you say, in the perception, right? I've talked about this in every episode pretty much, is that there's the internal perspective and the external perspective. It's how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, how they see, right? And there's more than just that, but it's the perception of there's a disconnect. Now you got to watch film. You got to figure out what made that disconnect happen, because the only time you're actually going to perform at peak level is understanding the exact right alignment of those two things.
Right. Well, here's what I'll say. And let me tie this back into discipline. If you do your meeting, if you do your presentation, your sales call, your talk, if you do it the same way every time and are disciplined in the way that you do your sales, whatever you're pitching, and you will know where you messed up, because you do your presentation that works every time, A to Z. All right. You're going to know somewhere along there, I said, hey, I should not have said that. I don't normally say that, for some reason I said that, and that's where I lost them. Right. So if you're disciplined in your presentation, you can know, okay, this time, next meeting, whatever, next client, don't do that, right? But you have to have you got to be disciplined in and I don't care if your cars, insurance, solar, whatever. If you do it the same way every time, that's a proven, like strategy that wins. You're going to know where you messed up. You'll know screwed it up in the middle of it, lost it, and the guy's like, yeah, I'm good. And you're like, you just see it. It's like, it just dissolves, right?
Yeah.
Right in your hand. And when it comes to athletics, same way, get up on the line, my stance feels good. I've got good posture, everything's good. And you successful rep on the field, right? Block the crap out of them, right? Get up there, something's off, you're not right. Flies, give up a sack, right? Well, from all those reps that where you screwed it up, but you got to do it the same every time, and people that don't have that process down and the discipline to keep that process on, I don't know how you would do it if you don't have a strong process and discipline on keeping that process.
Well, I think too, that's exactly what it is too, though. Like understanding and going back and doing the work to watch the film, taking the discipline to review what happened, all of those things, because sometimes you'll find something that is working, right? A lot of the times people don't watch film on success. They watch film on the failures. Yes. Oh, what did I do wrong? But sometimes you can find a new piece of, a new tweak or whatever it is in a win. Right. And then it takes you from your baseline is at this performance level. And then you're up here because you found that little thing extra. And now, and that's what this whole thing is about. That's what Savage Brand is all about, is about taking you from where you're at to that next level. How do you get to that next level? And again, it's discipline. Like you said, of always watching film, always getting better. Stop just saying, oh, well, I lost that one. Let's figure out why I lost that one so I don't do it again. But also, why did I win that one?
Right.
Why did that go differently both ways? Good or bad, why did it go differently?
Well, I'll tell you, and as soon as you get really good at what you do, you're going to have more, maybe you're 3 out of 10, right? You see 10 people, you get 3 deals, then all of a sudden it's 5 out of 10. Then all of a sudden you're 60%, set, and it's like, it's not that people are just, maybe you run into a string, right? You just, boom, you're closing everybody, right? Sometimes. But also you've gotten better. Your skills have sharpened. You've been studying. You've stuck to your process. You've educated yourself on products. You've talked to different agents. You've ran into so many different situations. You can already see what's going to happen ahead of time, and you've sharpened your skills at that. One agent in my past told me, listen, you're not going to see it all until you got to see 100 clients. After you do 100 clients, see 100 people, you're going to know. You're going to pretty much know. You're going to see it all. You're going to see all the objections. You're going to hear all the BS that people are going to tell you. And then after that, but you got to see 100. You got to talk to 100 clients first. And that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's not. It's a small portion. You might knock out 100 people in a couple months, in our business, right? But once you get that under your belt, let's start. Now we can start building. We've seen it. Let's start building on this and compounding, like you said. You're here, but now your ratio is up here, and now we're growing and getting better. And it's not that the clients are they don't love you. You ain't got any cuter. You ain't you've got, what I mean? They don't. You're not like nothing's changed. You've just gotten better. You've gotten better.
And it's that process and building, like you said, because you can't expect right out of the gates of whatever to go from no knowledge to the best of the best. You have to slowly work your way up. That's why I say you've always got to be progressing. It's not like, oh, I'm just naturally good at this. Okay, cool. But you still have to do the work. You still have to have the discipline to do the work, because it's about having a process. Yes. It's about having discipline. And then it's about having a process, whether that process is to do the same thing every single time, whether that process is to set a trap, like I talked about, whatever. You have to have a process, but then you have to continually improve on the process.
Yeah, no doubt. And keep building on it, and have a toolbox, have a different pivots, right? If they say this, I'm going here. If they say that, all right, I'm going there. You know what I mean? But you got to be able to be fluid in that, but also getting back to the baseline, why we're here. We're here to get this done. We're here to get your family what they need, what you need, but don't let them derail it, because people can easily just get you way off, course, in a meeting, and then all of a sudden you're on this A to Z, and then you're all over in the woods somewhere, and you got to get people back on there and not get flustered and remember, okay, where were we? Okay, hey, back to this, because you get these people that are just either they're pissed off that they're talking to you for some reason, so they're just, or they're they're like a Labrador
overly
retriever.
welcoming.
Overly, yeah, but they don't want to talk about the business at hand. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And those are sometimes even the hardest ones, because they're jumping around like they've drank a bunch of energy drinks like Josh, and you got to keep them. They're bounced off the walls, and you're like, hold on a second, let's pull you back in here. Give me your attention, right? You know what I mean? Let's get this done. And you got to be confident enough to do that. I think as a young advisor, when I was first getting into it, if I had somebody like that kind of, like a dolphin, right? Right. It's like, I would just flow with it, because we're taught to mirror them. We're taught to have fun, and do that. And then the close comes and they're like, you're friend zone now. Now you ain't there to do
That's
job.
a good way to point it. That's a great way to put it.
You're not there to do a job for them and to serve them. Now you're their buddy. You're friend zoned, and it's easier for them to tell you no as a friend than it is as a somebody that's there to professionally to do a job. And they can just say, yeah, you know what? Let's think about this. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? Like you screwed it up. You were having fun. And then, you might close it, you might get the deal done, but then the day later they're going, hey man, I think we're going to just stick with our old plan or whatever, right? Because you did it in a nice way. You didn't sit them down. You didn't focus them on what's going on. You let them run the meeting, and when I walk in to, whether it's a home or an office, and I'm 6'6", 350 pounds, right? I try to use that to my advantage. I try to, hey, you're going to sit here. I'm sitting here, let's have fun, but we're here to do a job,
Yep.
And I try to do that for sure, to try to keep people focused and, stick with the
because
process.
there's people that out there that are scared of confrontation. So when they get a phone call, they don't say no. They take the meeting, and then they're like, oh man, I already got this meeting scheduled. I can't cancel it, because again, they're scared of confrontation. But then when they get you there, they want to run you around because they don't want to talk about the meat and potatoes, because they know they don't want to say no, but whatever it is, right? So it's just a different way of saying no. All they're doing is running you around because they don't want to say no, but really they're still telling you no because they're running you around. And it's your job to keep them. It's your job to keep them in the boundaries of what you're talking about. Like, and that's the thing is, that's why, again, talking about like the process that I've created. It's like, I teach people sometimes to think like a spy movie, right? Like an assassin or a spy or whatever, right? Set a trap, but I know they're advertising Mission Impossible everywhere right now because it just came on stream, right?
Which they're awesome.
So they are awesome. I agree. So, when you get it, it's like, hey, you get an envelope. It's like, if you choose to accept, right? Yeah. And then, so that's your prospect. If you choose to accept, well then you got to go and study that prospect. All right. What's this prospect like? How are they qualified? Got to study that prospect. Then you go and you figure out what their routine is, right? Okay, where can I attack them? Where's my spot to attack them at? Okay, they go under this bridge every single time. If I attack them right there, nobody's going to see me because I'm under the bridge, right? Think about how spy movies work. But it wouldn't be a good movie if for some reason that day they didn't go under the bridge and they went somewhere else. So you got to have backup plans, right? And that's exactly the same thing we're talking about here. You get there, you're ready, and then, hey, you want me to get you some? Hey, let's hear a couple beers. Hey, I got a barbecue coming up. And they're trying to distract you. Wow. It's your job to get them back under that damn bridge.
Yeah. To assassinate, right? So,
That's right. They hit it.
And it's funny to tie it into, right, like I was thinking about the Matrix, right? So the Matrix, you got all these objections coming at you, right? They're telling you this, the client's telling you that, and you're like Neo. You're just like, you know what I mean? You're just like you're just dodging them. They're just coming at you, and you just plug in, and you don't even see them. You just keep on your acknowledge them, right? What do they say? Acknowledge them, and move on and agree with them, and then rebuttal or move to your next course of action, whatever it is. But I always that's a good one with a spy, and I like just the Matrix, like, because people will tell you anything, as an objection, as a, like Grant Cardone said, as a complaint about things, and it's like, they're not real. They're not real. They're not real. If you acknowledge of them, give them weight, that makes them real. But if you don't acknowledge them I guess acknowledge them, but if you give them weight like they're real, then that's when it's like, okay, we're stuck on this complaint, but we're not getting back to solving the problem. And there's people have issues financially, and they need to be solved. And we're just hearing these complaints about price or about product, and it's like, that's fine. Well, we can do this or that, but that's not any excuse not to close a deal.
Absolutely.
Our job is to close the deal and get people in a better place.
That's why I said that's why I like to think of it like set a trap. I'm looking for a trigger word. I don't care what else you say. Like you said, right. Neo dodging that stuff, right? I don't care what else you say. I don't know. That doesn't matter. That's not my trigger word. That's not my trigger word. That's not my trigger word. Keep talking about whatever you want to talk about. That's fine. Because none of those are my trigger word. I'm dodging all of those, get past all that to get my trigger word, to set my trap, to get to the next step. Whether it's close, whether it's set a new meeting, whatever it might be. It's dodge, whatever. It is what it is. And then boom. Because like you said, they are just saying stuff to say stuff. They're not, there's no weight behind what they're saying.
Not legitimate.
It's just say stuff to say stuff. But again, if you can just navigate, and then bang, you get your trigger word, you're good. It's not about, if they had the information, they wouldn't be talking about it. And it's almost like you have to understand how people work too. Like when someone gives you an objection, sometimes it's a test. Because if you've already got a response ready for that objection, so this is where like being overly rehearsed sometimes comes back to bite you in the butt for people that do it in that way. The do it the same way every time people. If you have an objection ready to go, that person's gonna be like, "Oh, that's valid. He's got a reason. You see how fast he did that? He was ready. He must get that objection all the time. He's got to get that. So that's valid. He gets that all the time. So that's a valid objection because look, he had that shit prepared, right?
Right.
And that's why you can't let the objection run the meeting.
Yeah. They go. I got to think about it, and they kind of sit back, the guy he'll throw that out there like he's the only one that said that to you. And he'd like, you're a rookie and you haven't heard that before. And they go, I got to think about it. And it's almost like they're like, okay, how they're looking to see what my response is, right? How do you handle that? Oh, okay. No, I understand that. I agree. I like to think about things too, but let me ask you this. You know what I mean? So acknowledge it. Oh yeah, you got to think about it. I agree. Yeah. I never rush into anything, but let me ask you this. What does it look like if you waited and this, that, and the other, right? And, the guy's going, well, yeah, you're right about that. Okay. So you acknowledge it, take a deep breath. Don't get all, start sweating, right? Your face gets red. You didn't close it on the first close. Then we start, all our body signals start triggering and, and all that type of stuff. Just stay calm, but you've had to be prepared. You're prepared though. You've done this before. You've listened to audios. You've prepared for this. You're going to get this objection from time to time. Handle it like a pro. Be a pro about it. and move on to what our next, what's our next rebuttal, what's our next close going to be, obviously acknowledging
Well, that's where
it.
studying them comes in as
Right.
well, like understanding who your prospect is, because
Yep.
when you get in that situation, like, so with your objection and your response that you gave right there, well, what does that look like if we wait? Well, if you've done no research, how are you going to give them an accurate picture of what it looks like? If you
Right.
don't know anything about them, then you don't know what it's going to look like for them. You
Right.
need to know, you need to be inside of their head that when
Yeah.
you say this, they're going to immediately picture this. Like, it's
Right.
like you said earlier, like the chess type moves, you have to know
Right.
what they're going to say, when they're going to say it. You have to understand it's all that studying, all that stuff that leads up to that meeting. Again, the discipline of studying before you get there. Most of us, a lot of people will slack once they become successful at the
Right.
smaller things. So I got a packed schedule. I don't care. I don't need to study as hard. I've got 30 meetings this week. I'm going to close plenty. I don't
Right.
care. Like, all right, I normally close 30%, so I got 30 meetings. Oh, whatever. That's
Yeah.
10 closes, man. That's a great week. Whatever. Right?
Right.
And then they get through the week and they only close 5.
Wow.
Why they only close 5? Because they didn't
Right.
put in the extra work. They didn't put
Yeah.
in the discipline to still do it the same way, whether you've got 5 meetings that week or 35 meetings that week.
Yep.
You've got to put in the same preparation for every single one, or you're not going to have the same results. And if that's
Right.
okay with you, then okay, that's okay with you. Like, hey,
Right.
I'd rather be the person that books 100 meetings and closes 20%. Or I'd rather be the person that books 25 and closes 100%. Which one makes the most sense for you?
Right.
Because one person closed 20, one person closed 25.
Right. And the other person worked a lot harder to get 100 freaking appointments on their schedule, and the juice ain't worth the squeeze. You know what I mean? So it's that's a good point. I had something I wanted to add to that, because I like what you're saying, but I lost it. But we do get better at.
That's all them hits to the head on the opposite line.
Yeah, let's get that documented for sure. But I just think you're so on track. I'm trying to think about where we're at, but having that full schedule, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a great month or a great week, right? We know we need to have that full schedule, and if you don't, I don't know what you're doing, because I freak out if my schedule ain't on there, and you're gonna walk into a sale. Like, if you book enough appointments, you'll walk into right. But can you do that consistently? Like if anybody can just, okay, these people, they need it. We're going to get this deal done for them. They need the product I have, and we're going to close the deal. Well, anybody can do that, but can you get the people that are 50-50, they're on the fence, can you get them to your side? Can you be good enough where you got somebody, they're on the ropes, right? They could easily walk away from you, but they could easily take it as well. How do you get them to see the value in what you have to close the deal and protect a family or help a family in their retirement, save them money, make them money, whatever it is, right? And this is what I was going to say. So I try not to rely so much on having, obviously I like to have a lot of closes in my arsenal, right? But if you do the presentation the right way and you create it and you're closing along in your sales process, you won't get all that. You don't need to worry about it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If you're doing little closes along the way and creating problems and solving problems throughout the way and creating, hitting those hot button topics and closing those, when you get to the end, it's a no-brainer for them, and it becomes easier and easier. And you think wow, everybody just wants this. Well, you've done a really good job at helping people see the value, and you've created that for them. And, so I'd hate like when you get to the end and they give you a rebuttal or an objection, you haven't done something. You messed up. You rushed it. I don't know if it's what we're talking about, cars. Like I said, it could be anything. You rushed it. You screwed it up somewhere. And that's why they're saying no to you. And it's the worst feeling in the world, because you feel like maybe you did a really good job, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you weren't on your game. Maybe you just had maybe you just weren't on your game, and you got to get it back you got to go to the next. And like you said, having a full schedule, you got to get to the next one, So I always,
it's one of those things that there's, it's so funny to me, because like, if you look up like sales trainings or look up anything to do with sales, most of the stuff you're going to get, the most popular things out there are going to be around objections, handling objections. Yeah. But it's funny to me, because if you do the process right, there's not objections. You should not have objections if you do a process correct. And I don't care what process you do. There's Jordan Belfort has straight line. There's NEPQ. There's NLP. There's all these different processes out there. The sell like a spy deal that I was talking about earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's all these different processes out there. If you do the process correctly, there's not objections. Yet, when you look up sales training, sales information, it's all about objections, right? That's the number one thing out there is objections.
Right.
And so it's just funny to me that happens. But then sometimes too, even if you do the process correctly, right? This is where it comes back to discipline. Even if you do the process correctly, you can't close because of something outside of your control. So you think they can't afford it. They generally can't afford what you're trying to sell them, whatever it might be. Well, then it comes back to the beginning of the process, the studying your prospect, qualifying your prospect. You didn't qualify them correctly. If you get to the end and they genuinely cannot afford it, that's the stuff that's out of your control.
They can't qualify.
You did everything right in the process, but they can't qualify. Then it goes back to the beginning. You didn't qualify them correctly. It's still not their fault, right? There's a lot of salespeople out there that want to blame them. It's on you,
right? And there's a certain way to do that. I know in our business, right, we got to figure out if they got any income coming in. We got to figure out, how much money what their net worth is and things like that. And you got to be strategic about that, because you don't want to turn people off and just start asking, about dollar signs in the first 5 minutes of meeting somebody, right?
Yeah.
But there's a strategic way of doing that, and being kind of, like you said, just like very, very planned, spy-ish, I don't know if that's a word, but very strategic about it. But also, you're not going to get everything. You're not going to get them all. Nobody's 100%. So then what's your mentality after that, right? What's your mentality? You leave the meeting. You thought you had something good. Go, all right, what do you do then? Right, on the field, right? You had a bad play. Things didn't go right. The drive was going really well. The turnover on downs, whatever. QB throws a pick, fumble. All right, what are we doing the next time we're up? So you leave the house. You're driving to the next appointment, or the next client's coming into your office, whatever it may be. All right, now I got to reset. All right, so what's my reset process, right? Because you just had that no. Somebody just told you no, right? Nobody's 100%. That's fine. But the next person is like, okay, this is what I think. You get through all the no's. You get through all that bull crap, BS, to get to the yeses are coming. So you almost got to think of, right, I got that no. I know I did my process the right way. I just didn't close it for whatever reason. It's my fault, right? But the yeses are coming. The no, fine. Give me all the no's now, because I know the end of this week, yes.
Yes, statistic.
And it's just how it works, and you mentally, when somebody doesn't close, it'll mess with you. It's like, hey, I thought I was good, man. But you can't lose that confidence. You have to go into the next meeting with the same confidence that you would if you had just closed $1 million deal or you just lost $1 million deal, is you never know what's going to be in that next meeting. And you have to, you can't screw up one and then screw up 2, 3, and 4. You know, and the best
time let
to
it bleed in.
No, the best time to make a sale is after a sale. So let's say you lose one, get the next one, the next, it just oozes. It's just like, oh, boom, now I'm on it, right? Now I'm going. It's just momentum, right?
Yeah. It's that same thing, like you're saying, momentum, but also, so going back to statistics, right? So it's statistics. You know that you close 50%, whatever it might be, right? You know you close 50%. Most of us as salespeople or whatever, most people hate rejection, right? That's the thing that makes people not good in sales, is they don't cold call because they hate rejection. They don't do this because they hate rejection. It's all about the rejection part. Okay, well, here's the perspective. Here's the tricks. Here's the understanding of that, right? In that car, I do everything virtually. I'm not a big in the car guy, but in between meetings, right?
I got you.
Where you're at, instead of, oh man, that was a no, bro, you just got through the part that you didn't like. The part you don't like is the rejection. It's gone. Guess what?
Good.
That's one of those 5. If we close 50%, that's one of the 5 that you got to go through. Down. It's gone. It's great. We made it through that. Let's go, baby. Here we go. Let's go. Now, instead of the 50% chance I could have, now I've got a better chance. My chances are better on this next one because statistics, the way statistics work. If I've done the job, kept disciplined notes, and know that I closed 50%, then I know that now I'm going to close 6, or I'm going to close 5 of the next 9. I was at 5 of 10. I'm now at 5 of the next 9 because I just got rid of one of my no's. I'm good now. I'm better. I'm done with one of my no's.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. And I know the numbers, they say the numbers kind of always work out. You want to get the numbers, obviously, in your favor, if you can, by studying, by preparation, right? All that stuff. But in the end, people you can walk into a sale, but can you figure out a way to put the odds in your favor, right? And you're dead on, man. Like, you get that first no, and it's like, all right, let's go. Next meeting, it's going to be a banger, right? It's going to be awesome. But then it's funny, it's weird because you get 4 or 5 successful meetings and closes, and then you're like, all right, what's the next one going to look like?
End it. Right.
I know I ain't 100%. So, I've had a great, what's going to be when's that other shoe going to drop, but that's all right. You got to ride the wave when you're on. You just got to ride that wave and keep that momentum, and then there's going to be
well, you have to understand that you can control momentum, right? Like you were talking about earlier, there's like you're driving down the field. You're driving down the field, turnover on downs, right? Oh, a lot of people look at that, they got momentum, right? Oh, they stole momentum. But you were driving down the field and you just made a mistake. You were moving the ball with ease and had a mistake. Sometimes it's something you could control, sometimes it's not. Somebody perfectly placed their helmet on the ball pops free. There is nothing you can do. You can't tuck the ball any better. It was in the right position. It's one of them things. Physics happens, right?
Right.
Dude coming at you 20 miles an hour and his helmet hits it. Ain't none of us got enough grip strength to hold on to that ball, right? It is what it is. So
a funny comment on that is they get paid too. You know what I mean? Like they get paid too. They get paid too. You ain't the only one out there getting paid. The defense is getting paid too. So they make a play.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things. Sometimes that happens, but like again, you look at it as momentum's on their side, or you look at it as, man, we got the momentum. We was just moving the ball, making them look silly. We were just making them look silly. Like you said, it's about having the same amount of confidence going into the next situation, whether it's from one drive to the other. Hey, we went into this last drive super pumped up. Yes, it didn't turn out the right way. Let's be the same level. Let's meet the same level on this drive. Boom, let's go. you control your own momentum. Just like you said, 5, 6, 7 wins in a row. Now you're thinking, oh man, something bad's about to happen. Boom, you're screwing up your momentum by saying, oh, something bad's about to happen.
Yeah. No
you
doubt.
control your own momentum.
You can get in your own mind, right? You can get in your own mind. But professional teams and professionals in business, they know how to handle it. They know how to handle the success. Yep. They know when things are going good. Hey, it may not always be going good, but we know that we can get there, right? We know what the top is, right? And some bad happens, that's all right. Leave that, put that behind us. We're moving on to the next thing, right? You have a great week, you have a great month. Now, can you duplicate that? Can you do it again? Can you do it 2 months, 3 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in a row? And the people that don't have the discipline and the process, I don't think they can. They're aimlessly walking into deals here and there, but they can't rely on it, And
I just thought of this comparison, and I want to get your opinion on it before we go too long. So I just thought of this. In professional sports, they talk about the difference between super successful teams and teams that are like bottom of the barrel and whatnot being culture. That culture, right? They talk about that culture. Yep. And I personally just thought of, while you were talking, that culture in the professional sports industry is like your personal mindset in a sales type of role, because the culture keeps things moving. You lose a game, oh well, keep going. We know we've prepped the right way. We know things have done it the right way. We know all of those things. Same thing. Reset, go into the next sales meeting, execute correctly. Whereas I think about the Eagles this past year, where everybody was blaming everybody. Everybody was blaming everybody. Everybody's blaming everybody. Same thing. Now you're on the way to your next appointment. Man, right. And you're sitting there blaming. I just want to hear do you think that that's a good parallel?
No. Dead on. And different teams have different histories and different cultures built into them. The one thing that comes to my mind is Baltimore's culture, okay? Patriot culture when Tom was there. I think San Fran is building a pretty good culture with the players they got.
Even though they don't know the rules to overtime.
Right. Maybe not that. But they're creating a way that they play the game, a physical game, a disciplined game, and things like that. But I think Baltimore is probably, when you talk about culture and the teams I've been around, I was in Cincinnati for 7-8 years, and we were kind of crazy. You had Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson. He's a wild card. I mean, you love to go to, you love him out there, fighting, but also you knew there was going to be maybe something here and there, but you just love the guy, right? And then we had some crazy cats. I mean, there was sometimes off the field issues here and there, Odell Thurman some people getting arrested, and Chris Henry, rest in peace. He had some stuff go on back in the day, and but you love the guys on the field, and we had a really close team, but the culture of winning hadn't been established there yet, and it was tough to handle some of the success, I think. And then I went to Baltimore, and I'm not obviously I wasn't one of these top guys or nothing, but I was serviceable, but I also paid attention to what was going on. And in Baltimore, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, they ran the locker room. Those dudes, Joe Flacco, those guys ran the locker room. The coaches, they didn't have to go in there much. It was their locker room. They handled their business in there, and they have a really tight culture of winning, and it's carried on, and it carries on through the different phases through, early 2000, young Ray Lewis, Brian, Billick, Billick winning the Super Bowl, then Harbaugh's created it, and in 2010s and now into the 2020s, right? they've created that. And I might get ate up if any Cincinnati fans or Cincinnati people see this, but I mean, I respect that. I respect them. Steelers, they haven't been great lately, but their culture of winning is kind of always there. Tomlin always comes out over 500. I think they're kind of in QB purgatory unless they can get a guy, but they've created a culture. So like, what's our culture as people, as an agency? Well, are we winners? Do we service our clients the best? Are we fibbing here and there? Are we doing some things that shouldn't be? No, do it the right way. Always do things the right way. Do what's best for the client. Create a culture of tightness where people aren't talking behind each other's backs. There isn't this jealousy or animosity. We just want to all be successful. We help create, a family type atmosphere for each other. And I think that'll bleed into your business if you have that with your agency and you treat your clients and customers like that. So yeah, dude, there's no doubt about culture being super important. You think about the brand names, the Duke basketball, Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, these places that have built that inside of them. And it takes a lot. It would take a lot of cancer and a lot of bad stuff to happen in those programs to rip that down. Kansas City right now is creating a really great culture. This culture they're creating now, who knows how long that'll carry out for them.
Yes.
I mean, it's really cool to see, and I respect.
Well, it's like the media. I think once you have that culture, the media doesn't necessarily tear you down. So it doesn't bleed into people's mindsets and things like that. Like I said, when in a sales role or a business role, you're the only person, you control that. But a lot of people get into these cycles where they can't control it. But it's the same thing, like you said, in Cincinnati, that culture wasn't there. So when you guys did have success, the media is, hey, what are they doing? What, they're not supposed to be at the top of the league. Oh, no, they're going to screw up. Don't worry, they're going to screw up. Oh, they're going to screw up. Like the Yankees, the Red Sox, and things like that, like the curse.
Yeah.
Well,
it's become
you got to know it's there. Like, right, self-fulfilling prophecies, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing like in sales. When you don't have that culture, when you don't have that winning mindset, and you do win, like if you don't have that winning mindset and you walk into a sale, like you said, you walked into a sale.
Yeah.
Now you're like, and you're scared to go and win again.
Right.
Same thing. That's why I drew those parallels, is because of that exact thing. It's like that mindset, that talk, whether it's the media talking, whether it's your head, your voices in your head talking, there's these things that are pulling against you because you don't have that process to go back to. You don't have that discipline to rely on. Same thing. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people relate culture to discipline as well. I know I've heard that the NFL, culture and discipline, when they say, this team doesn't ever get penalized. They got that discipline, and it's a culture of discipline, right? So I think that all of those things.
It's how they do everything. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? If you're showing up late, if you got guys coming into meetings late, if they're not doing their list, they're not taking care of their bodies, that's eventually that stuff. You might not see it that year. You might see it later on in the year. You might see it the next year. Like what you did maybe in 2023, if you did stuff that was undisciplined in 2023, a lot of times that'll bleed into 24 because you can't get it right. It's like steering a ship. I mean, you can turn that wheel, but it might take a little bit. It's going to, there's a little, right? It's going to take a minute to get it right. And even if you start doing things the right way, you might not see the results until later on, but that's okay. Just keep doing things the right way, and eventually the results will come there. But it ain't overnight. Just do it the right way, and maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year down the line. It's like, oh, okay. And it wasn't because you see the success. It wasn't because what you did that year. It might have been what you did a year before, and all of a sudden you're seeing the results of it now. It's crazy how that works. I just want to say one last thing. I wasn't trying to put Cincinnati down. I love Cincinnati. That's my team. I'm Houday. I'm Houday Nation. I'm Houday all day. But we had some crazy times. That's all I'll say. There was some fun. There's some fun, big guys on those teams.
Absolutely.
And I think right now with Joe Burrow and what they're doing is amazing. And I love what Joe does, and I love what Zach Taylor does up there and things like that. I think hopefully a good year coming up. But anyways, I just had to put that out there.
No, dude. Hey. Look, you got Chad Ochocinco's out there now. Like, I think he's more popular now than he was when he played. Like, he's all over the place, all over social media and stuff like that.
He saw that vision back then, because I remember, he was on Twitter and they were talking about it. And this is like 2000 and I don't know if it was 6, 7, I don't know how long Twitter's been out, 70. And it was like tweeters, nobody knew what it was, but he had it. He was doing it back then, and it's now you're seeing
and it was, he's a loose cannon. Look at what he said. He's a loose cannon, but
now everybody does it. And everybody does it. It's crazy. The world is so different.
That's that's exactly that's full circle back to what we talked about earlier. Like the discipline, the stuff that people don't see or see incorrectly. They might call you crazy for doing it. Like, you wake up at 5 o'clock and work out. What is wrong with you? Right? Like that stuff. They may see it, but they may call you crazy for it. Chad Johnson tweets. Right? They may call you crazy for it. Or it might be stuff that they don't see, right? Maybe you work out at home and they don't see it. But it's that stuff that leads to the success. It's the discipline to do the stuff behind the scenes, culture, discipline, process, the film study.
Yeah.
All of those things that we just have talked about for the last hour.
Right.
Those behind the scenes is what it takes to get there. So, I know we're running a little bit long here, but I just want to thank you so much for coming on and being here. But just one more time, kind of shout out, everything that you do and done, and any social medias, your business, all that good stuff.
I don't really have, to be honest, I don't really do a whole lot of social media.
Yeah.
I got a Twitter here. I'll give everybody my Twitter if they want to check it out. It's usually a lot of Cincinnati stuff, and I follow a lot of coaches and things like that. It's Coach Koos, at Coach Koos, and it's Koos. No I in there, just Coach Koos. That's my Twitter there. And I do a little bit of that. I got to get on the Instagram or the Snapchat or whatever the heck kids are doing. But I do have my Twitter, Coach Koos. So there's that. And obviously doing my financial advising. If you want to give me a shout, DM me on, any advice you can use for retirement, insurance, whatever you need, I'll help out if I can. But I appreciate it, Josh. Thank you for having me on, brother. I had fun, man. I had fun just talking junk. Yeah. It was good. I appreciate it.
Hey, we could have gone for a while, man. Might have to have part 2 because I feel like we were just getting into the meat and potatoes down at the end.
Yeah. Once you get me going, man, I can talk ball or anything. I think it's a passion. But I appreciate you, brother.
Heck yeah. Awesome, man. Well, guys, stick with it. We'll be back next week. Have another crazy episode again next week. So let's go.